I would like to tell you something which is very, very critical about managing a timeline, which is of tomorrow. That means you have to do something tomorrow. Your client is coming to you and saying that something actually went wrong in the previous delivery, and now you have to redo something and you have to deliver it tomorrow. How do you tackle this kind of situation? Previously, I have talked about prioritization of projects. I've also spoken to you about how you can actually manage timelines at a high level. But this is a scenario or a situation where you really have to think about how you can address the concerns of the customer or your client. Now, the scenario is that your manager or your customer has asked you to complete something tomorrow. Now, in this particular situation, maybe your teams are not in your time zone. The teams are somewhere in a different time zone, let's say in Asian time zone, or they are in NAM time zone, and you are here in the UK in a different time zone. How do you address it? Well, there are two things that you have to do in this particular case. Number one is that assure the customer that you will look into this problem no matter what it takes. Immediately, that is the first step that you should take. Inform the customer that you will take care of the problem. That is number one. If you have any person from the customer side who you can speak to about this problem, speak to that person and say that you will address this problem and understand what the exact problem is. So this is one of the things that you should do when you actually encounter this type of situation. Now, number two is that when you actually get into your office or when you log in, the first thing that you should actually do is to look at that problem and see whether the team has been able to work on that particular issue because the team is in a different time zone, for instance. Now, conduct a meeting with the team, find out what the status is and whether there is anything that needs to be done. If the problem is resolved in that particular meeting, then I think you will be able to tell your customer that the problem is resolved. But if the problem is not resolved, it is again your responsibility to inform your customer that the problem is not resolved and you have to find alternatives. So all I'm saying here is that you should basically be on top of the problem and you should basically keep your client posted. These are the things that you should do in a situation where you have to deliver something immediately, like tomorrow. Now, if you want to deliver something today, what do you have to do? Maybe if it is not possible to deliver something today, then tell your customer what difficulty you are facing. And a lot of times the customer will understand it. But to manage these critical timelines, short timelines, you have to do two things. Number one, communicate. Establish some kind of connect with your customer, work with your team members, and try to solve the problem. If the problem is solved, tell the customer that you have been able to solve the problem. If the problem is not solved, then also you must tell your customer that the problem is not solved. My team worked on it, but this is where we are. Are you okay with this? And a lot of times, even if the problem is not solved, there are alternatives. So let's say you want to generate a report tomorrow for your customer. Now, you're not able to generate it, but you are able to generate it maybe in a different fashion. So you can tell your customer that I have been able to generate it in this particular fashion. Would you be okay with this? And a lot of times the customer would be okay with that as well. But you must try to solve the problem. And how do you solve the problem? One of the things that you can do to solve a problem is collaboration. Collaboration with your team members and your customer. Now, what I just told you about right now is all about collaboration, isn't it? You first established some communication with your customer that you will solve the problem. You also spoke to your customer's representative that you will solve the problem. You understood the problem. You establish some kind of coordination or collaboration with your team, and then you tried to solve the problem. So it's all about collaboration, and it's all about making sure that you are on top of the problem and you are looking into the problem actually. These are the things that you can actually do when you have short timelines to meet. Thank you very much.